Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. We've had some technical difficulties trying to get this live stream up tonight. Apparently, Restream is down and crashing and stuff like that. So we're trying out StreamYard. I got confirmation that we are live. So we are going to be using StreamYard tonight. So hopefully that's not any inconvenience. But tonight's topic, we'll be talking about helping Chads find Trads. And this should be a fun topic. We're going to talk about the problems with dating. We're going to talk about sort of the solutions with dating as well. But we're going to talk about it in a way that a lot of evangelical channels or Christian channels in general, or even a lot of conservative channels kind of won't touch. And we're going to be a little bit bolder in that sense. So we have Brandon Durham on with us tonight. Brandon Durham is a return guest because we've had him on last year when he initially launched Dominion Dating as a dating solution for Christians. So we're bringing him back on for a follow-up because September, I believe you went beta launch, or you did a beta launch.
Well, let's say we announced we were going to do beta, and then we didn't actually follow through with that. So we hit some bugs that are still being worked out. So sadly, we're still not live with our beta. So yeah.
All right. So, and I work in software development or software testing, and one of the website that I test is famous for getting launched way ahead of when it was supposed to, because it had to be launched a certain date by law. So funny when Congress gets in or sets standards that are very much unachievable. But live chat is most certainly welcome. Don't forget to like the stream as well. And we're going to talk about again just a lot of stuff as it relates to dating. Hopefully, make a more bold stand that we're not used to seeing in the Christian audience. And TD is here tonight, beta launch for alpha males. So that's some encouragement, I guess. So good to have you on. And Anthony is here tonight. How are you?
Doing good.
And one of the things that I wanted to have Anthony on because he's a single Chad. And, you're the one providing the solution. I'm married, so I don't have as much leverage. It's sort of easy for me to say in some regards to dating versus someone who's not married. So we kind of have like both perspectives tonight, the married and single, looking back and looking forward as we discuss the topic at hand. So without further ado, I think we want to get into issue 1. And I had overlays set up, but that was before we had to switch to StreamYard. And issue 1 is, where do you find love? And that sounds like such an obvious question, but in this day and age, if you flirt at work, it could be construed as sexual harassment, or even at school at times. But theoretically, I think school is your best opportunity. And then if you go to a bar, sometimes good things happen. Other times, not so good people are there. So it's a tough dating pool. But one of the hardest things that you're seeing is meeting people in real life, as well as meeting people online. So this is a different dating environment than perhaps we've ever seen before. So I guess either one of you want to tackle that first?
Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, I mean, obviously, like the Christian, I won't say cliche Christian answer is, oh, you got to meet girls at church. And then, that falls back into, potentially sexual harassment, or you just come across as very thirsty. So there's also that dynamic. But dating landscape, I wrote about this in one of my on my masculinity article, where the landscape has changed, where like you go back to the 50s and, well, really majority, if not all of human history, men had pretty much control over the dating market as far as they got to do the choosing. They had to pretty much woo the woman into it. And now, of course, with online dating becoming pretty much the standard, it has essentially flipped the dynamic because the women now has the power to do the choosing. She can, generally speaking, the women are the ones that ghost, and she's the one with the options on the table and not the guy, so to speak. So guys pretty much victim to swipe culture. There's also a gender imbalance on the top three dating apps. They're all super majority plus men to female. So there's an imbalance in supply versus demand. So perfect storm.
Perfect storm. Yeah. I guess I would add to that. I went to a Christian university, so I graduated high school in 1999. And the expectation I had was I would meet my wife in college. And I was there 4 years, and it did not happen. So I would say it is a very difficult time to try to find a spouse. And so all bets are off as far as where you're going to do that. And I think it is true that people are gravitating online for many areas of life, including connecting relationally, networking, and looking for a suitable spouse. So that's why I'm getting into the dating game, so to speak, because I know that this is a tool and a platform for people to pursue marriage, and it needs to be done better. It's not done well. It's a kind of a dark place, a discouraging place to be online.
Just to follow up with you, because Anthony mentioned the whole finding a girl in church option, because there are a couple issues with that. First of all, age range. You might not have a large pool to work with here, which could lead to, the next girl in the lineup, or not the next girl on your horizon's like just coming out of high school or whatever. So it's like
Nothing wrong with that. No.
No. It's like, so you're not actually, the dating pool, even in a church environment, could be extremely scarce. Let's just be blunt. So what's your kind of take on, dating within the local church? Do you think that's just a trite cliche that's thrown around, or
no? That's perfectly reasonable in a sane world.
In an ideal world, I guess.
In a sane, ideal world, everyone would love to meet their spouse through the trusted networks of family, friends, and church. That's a no-brainer. The problem is we don't live in that world. So,
right. And it seems like your solution with Dominion Dating was to kind of expand that world, at least the church aspect of it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If your church is healthy and robustly biblical, and your pastors are teaching a biblical paradigm for marriage and family, then that's a fertile soil for raising up men and women who are ready to be married. That church is few and far between right now. So what we're trying to do is kind of a 1-2 punch. Number one, we're trying to help connect the singles who are scattered abroad, right? So take the Southern Baptist, for example. Man, it is such a egalitarian denomination. I would, so let's say conservatively, let's say if there's 50,000 churches, let's say 1 in 3 churches might have 1 or 2 singles who have a biblical paradigm for dating. So that's very sparse, right? But what if we could pull all of these together, help them find each other on a platform that's going to uphold and honor these biblical convictions? So Dominion Dating, as one example, if we could pool these godly singles together, help them find each other, then that's, to me, that's a huge win. But then secondly is we do want to partner with churches. to teach a biblical paradigm. The dominion mandate, for example, is all but forgotten. And so we want to teach a paradigm to churches, and then so that's kind of phase 2 for us. That's something I'm working on. It's just
I guess it would behoove me to ask you now, what is the biblical paradigm for dating?
Well, dating should be a wise, intentional pursuit of marriage, but not just like modern ideas of marriage. It should be a wise, intentional pursuit of purposeful marriage. And so that's what dating is. It's the pursuit of marriage. The paradigm for marriage, though, is the original paradigm is Genesis 1. God made them male and female. He blessed them. And so God gives his high and holy blessing to marriage, and it's a purposeful marriage. It's not just let's go travel the world with our 2 puppy dogs. It's be fruitful, right? Fill the earth, exercise dominion. That's the paradigm. It's purposeful marriage. It's fill and fashion God's world according to God's way. So that's missing right now. Paradigm.
No, nowadays it's push off the children. Don't even have like more than 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And of course, the economy doesn't say let's have children. It says let's go Brandon instead.
Right.
And we're definitely going to be talking about that, because that's issue number 2 is hoflation. Because in this Brandon economy, it's not just inflation we have to deal with. It's also hoflation, which is a long time coming in the simp culture where we have created. In that, I guess Anthony might be the more economical way to, to phrase it. But the idea is that the dating market currently overvalues women, or women have overvalued themselves. And along these lines, there is a video I want to show, and we're going to share some screen for a second here. Because I'm going to take a look at this clip. This is, I got this off of Twitter because I just so happened to have seen this today. So let me know if you can hear this, right?
Yes.
Depends where they live. I mean, if I'm like dating them, it'd be nice if they were at least making 100,000. I have no clue.
Like $1 million, $2 million. Okay, we're at ASU, so you're not gonna find him here.
Like fully like adult.
Someone that you would consider wanting to be with the rest of your life.
300K, 3 figures.
Okay, so why is that?
Just because like
3 figures.
that's a stable income, I'd say. 100, like 500 grand. Is that a lot?
No, that's 500 is
Like normal?
on a good day. Yeah, I mean it depends.
Okay. A lot. We're expensive.
Yeah, Mills. Shit.
Mills.
Hey,
I don't really care. I like when guys like pay for dates and stuff.
So if a guy made $30K a year, is that something you're okay with?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Like your husband?
Oh,
Yeah.
husband.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that would be fine. If it was my
Your
husband,
sugar daddy.
I'd be in love with him. So yeah.
I wouldn't really say I would have a price on that. I mean, as long as they treat me respectfully. Minimum 6 figures, no matter what the situation is. Even expensive lifestyle.
Yeah. No, I mean I totally understand. We got to get good skincare routine. The whole 9 yards.
expensive lifestyle.
120K. 80K and like maybe like 120.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say like 80 to 150. Over 100.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Once you get to a certain age, like
That was the
I don't know,
most
I'm also
reasonable.
kind of like a gold digger, so. No, I'm planning on just like supporting myself.
You don't
With
need
my
no man.
income, so I don't really plan on being supported by the person that I'm dating.
What is the lowest you would go though?
We're gonna play
500,000.
limbo here.
I
Wow.
could have a nice settled life with like a 200,000 a year, like normal. Great, yeah.
What's the lowest though that you would go for?
Mills.
I don't think money is stopping. Maybe like a.
It has to be. You just said 1 or 2 mil. Would you be down for 80?
Yeah, 80, 60. That'd be fine.
Okay, reasonable. She's in my range.
So yes, that is some hoflation. And there is a part 2 if you're interested in watching the part 2. So, but just initial thoughts on the high expectations that women, these are college age Gen Z women who maybe they're wannabe Instagram models, but initial thoughts on their lofty expectations.
That they don't know what the workforce actually does pay, or maybe some of them are just more interested in basketball players or something. But I mean, again, even if that's like obviously the hyperbolic example, you still have a lot of these women that go to college and then they embrace feminism, and then they decide they want to like get a lot of the postgraduate degrees that may or may not pay money in the workforce. So if a woman becomes like a lawyer or something, she's gonna then she's gonna have that mandate of saying, I ain't gonna settle for someone that makes less than me. So that's another attribute that might come. But I mean, those women, yeah, obviously they're looking for like rich man that'll take care of them. And
I would add, I think there's always 2 ditches that you can fall into. I think for women, there's the gold digger ditch. They've got extraordinarily unrealistic, ideas for extravagant lifestyle. And there's very few men that are going to live up to that. But the other ditch is the independent woman who doesn't want a man. And I would say, honestly, I'm more hopeful for the gold digger girls. They want, at least they still haven't fully denied that God-given desire to have a provider. I think that God made men to provide, and so it's part of our job description. And women, a woman in a marriage where the husband is working hard to provide stability, she's going to feel much more secure to jump into her role. So,
well, the woman you mentioned that was the I don't need no man. I mean, she kind of had the most feminist attributes if you were to like look at her, and then and the other women might have just been, I guess, more along like the ditzy line. So I would.
It kind of reminds me of a friend of mine, and Anthony, you know who I'm talking about, who wanted to marry a rich guy, and then I guess is currently dating a rookie police officer. So good job trying to marry rich, but it's just kind of like expectations and then reality, and it definitely doesn't show, and then I guess the other thing I want to point out is you brought up the 2 shovels and the 2 ditches that they could dig. I feel like some of these girls going in there with 2 shovels, they want to be gold diggers, but at the same time, they also are just using that for their own independence so they can do something else, so that they can just, be Instagram models or social media influencers. Because the number one way to become a social media influencer is to be rich and moderately attractive. Like you look at all these people that are famous on TikTok or Snapchat, they're rich kids and they're moderately attractive.
Yeah.
That's basically your formula for being a social media influencer these days.
Well, I think that goes back to what you said, women overvaluing themselves, an inflated sense of ego. And that's only natural when society at the present is just constantly feeding the feminine ego. I mean, it's just, that's the air we breathe. It's girl power all day long. And so how could you not have an inflated ego if you're growing up in that? But if I'm as a man, if I'm going to work my butt off to take care of a family, I don't want to do it for a wife who's walking around outdoors like a skank. I mean, those girls were dressed like Gucci mamas, every one of them.
I guess another point to bring up is like, how young do these girls anticipate settling down, or how old are they willing to date? are they willing? Do they honestly think they're going to meet a guy their age that's already making six figures? And
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to that Seinfeld episode that features Bob Odenkirk as the guest star, who would later become Saul Goodman. But back when he was a character actor in the '90s, he played an aspiring doctor on Seinfeld, dating Elaine. And the idea was, once he wanted to become a doctor so he could meet girls, and then once Elaine did like the sex strike to help him study for a doctor, he realized that now that he's a doctor, he can get better girls than Elaine. It's like, do these girls not realize that they're Elaine in this situation? Yeah. Like,
well, yeah. How can you think that when everyone tells you the opposite, that you're a goddess divine? So,
and since I've noticed that the live stream is picking up, if you're in the chat, send chat. We'll definitely take questions because this is a very casual chat. Last week we wanted to be more we didn't want to be as interactive because we were trying to create some like standalone content on Sean Foyt. But this week, we're just gonna it's gonna be a little bit more chill, and we're gonna take questions and discuss and interact with the chats.
I mean, I will say my shirt kind of fits the theme of the topic, crows before his. So,
I mean, I went with the Archer
with,
and Danger Zone. Archer and Danger Zone because Sterling Archer is a Chad, possibly even a Giga Chad, but also kind of a degenerate as well. So let's look at part 2 of this phenomenon. And this is the second part of the video.
$500,000. I'm sticking with 100,000. He's gotta, Yeah.
This is how low they would go. We're playing limbo.
I mean, as long as they're stable, like have a good job,
$900,
like a car and a house. I don't think like money cares. Like it's not that high on my list, I'd say.
Well, I would probably say the lowest I would consider going is $65,000 a year, because then, like, if they're young, they have room for improvement and they can get promotions and work their way up.
Would you be comfortable with making more money than your guy or no?
Probably not. No, I don't want him to rely on me.
If he's still working and making money, then I don't think it really would matter if you're both putting work in.
The guy I was talking to told me women shouldn't be working, so no.
With a whole family, right? You got like 4 dogs, 10 kids. 10 kids is a stretch. No pun intended. That was disgusting.
Okay, well, I'm expecting to make a lot of money, so I'm okay with like carrying it.
So you're down to be the breadwinner?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't mind if I was making more money as long as they're making a lot. I think we both need to be rich, and we can, both have a really nice lifestyle.
I mean, do you care about how he would make his money, like real estate job versus, a male stripper?
I don't think so. Money's money.
I guess I would, yeah.
So if he was like just railing chicks on OnlyFans, you'd be fine with that?
I'd be a little more mad about that one.
Maybe.
A little bit.
A little bit. That's an undersell.
Sorry, the ADD's really.
Right.
Wait, what the? Okay, anyways, what would happen if you started dating this guy and he told you that he had a lot of money, whatever, and then you later found out he was broke?
I'd leave him. He's a liar, and he's broke. I'd leave him.
He has like no motivation to fix it.
Or he's like, I've been selling feet pics nonstop on my OnlyFans, and I swear to God, I will be making $100K by the end of the year.
Never gonna
Maybe
happen.
$100.
That does that.
Probably like blackmail him, maybe cry a bit.
What?
Yeah.
Leak his dick pics.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Ryan Long did a
that is
comedy
inflation
clip.
for you.
Ryan Long did a comedy clip on how male OnlyFans models need paycheck equality or whatever, because they're not making as much money as the women.
Yeah. These girls are in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, maybe how much of that do you think is just, them being shock jock, how you were asking a bunch of guys, they would talk about how they want the big booty Latina if you're Alex Stein, or, how much of that is just, they're being a little bit shock jockish versus how much of that is their genuine expectations?
Well, I would say most girls that age aren't even taught to even think about marriage. So probably that's the first time anyone's even asked them that question. So I don't know how much thought they could have put into it, but
I mean, if you were to flip the question, I mean, women in general would want the provider kind of innate. That's why the money is being asked to them. Like, you ask a bunch of dudes, and their first thing is going to
yeah,
be somewhere along the lines of looks, and obviously looks. I mean, you can say, oh, beauty's on the inside, but at the end of the day, physical appearance does have attributes that are favorable towards childbearing in the eventual long run. Someone that's unhealthy externally is, not,
And we can't discount that physiognomy is a real thing. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's a real thing.
sure.
But along those lines, I watch a lot of dating stuff, like this video that I stumbled across, which was retweeted onto my feed. But on Snapchat, there's a lot of dating stuff on there. I tend to watch that. I kind of like that, like this stuff as a guilty pleasure because I'm a bit of a romantic. But one of the things I remember watching was like, if someone was making bank, 6 figures, but they're 5'3", and all of a sudden, 6 figures isn't 6 figures anymore. So
Oh, yeah,
I think that there's a double whammy on the expectations. One expectation is money. The other expectation is height, as if you're trying to be the quarterback of a NFL football team.
Yeah. Well, those do correlate, though. I mean, I think I've read studies where tall people tend to surpass shorter people in business world as well, right? So there are some crossover traits.
Yeah. And you look at look at the Arizona Senate race right now, and they just had a debate, and Blake Masters is a tower over what's that? Mark Kelly. And Mark Kelly probably should have requested the stool when being up on a debate stage next to Blake Masters. It was the same thing that, Mitt Romney was kind of tall, so he stood out. Height matters. Trump is tall, so that helps him out a lot on a debate stage and stuff like that. So you're right that there is a height thing, and I guess that does correlate to physiognomy.
But on the money issue, though, I read an article across different dating platforms when they survey women. That's still a very big factor in what women are looking for. Even in our hyper feminist day, that's still a huge factor. They want a man who's going to provide for them, give them a stable life. And that's a testimony to the way God has ordered society, ordered mankind, because feminism has given its best shot to totally eradicate gender distinctions, and yet it still persists. So that should tell us it's ingrained.
I mean, I guess the question is, first of all, I understand that there should be a provider expectation. However, these girls aren't looking for a provider; they're looking for a sugar daddy.
Right.
And,
well, so yeah.
Along those lines, like how much is providing and how much is excess?
Yeah.
And that's not compartmentalized.
Well, I would say feminism, women who embrace the feminist ideology, they're their own worst enemy, because deep down they want a man to provide, but they have made it so hard for men to provide. First of all, there's more women entering college and the workforce now than men. So they're taking jobs from men, but then saying they want men to provide. But then also with the rise of women really inundating the workforce, even to the point that it's been flipped on its head, that means the market itself is adjusting. So you talked about a hoflation. I talk about a feminist tax. We all pay a feminist tax because the market knows that it can bear more when there's dual income homes as the norm. So the cost of living through the roof right now.
I mean, it's doubled in the last, I don't know, 70 years. The cost of living in the United States has pretty much doubled.
Yeah.
And And that's before we factor in that we would have said that a couple of years ago, let
Yeah.
alone the worst inflation we've ever seen.
Right. That was before Joe Biden screwed it all up. but yeah, it's hard right now for a man, even if you've got like a master's or doctorate, it's hard to find a job where you can take good care of a wife and kids and give that stability. It's very hard. And then what that means is there are very few men who are high earners right now compared to the number of women going after those men. So most of these girls, it's a pipe dream that you're going to have sugar daddy.
You know, because Tom Brady is coming on the market soon.
Yeah.
That's one guy, and all these girls are going to be chasing after one guy. It's just now he has the favorable market, and Jeff Bezos, I guess, is on the market. Bill Gates is on the market, but he's in the Epstein Island, so I don't know if they want that because Melissa Gates apparently got tired of that. But so there's a couple rich billionaires, and obviously we can't forget about Elon Musk.
Yeah,
but
I mean, even if you miss your opportunity with Musk, just wait a couple years. But well, the one part we haven't talked about is like blue collar, white collar. I mean, a lot of these women, if the blue collar guy's making $100,000, they're still probably not as interested as they would be if it were a business, business dude, like myself, an accounting kind of thing, where difference between lawyer making 100G versus plumber or truck driver or anything along those lines.
And ironically, who has the higher divorce rates? I'm pretty sure lawyers have a higher divorce rate than the plumber that's making $100,000. I don't know if there's any data on that, but if you're talking about high divorce professions, you're usually talking about someone that carries a gun for a living, law enforcement or Secret Service, especially
long hours,
or people that just work. Again, really long hours, but
works long hours late at night with their secretary.
Now, another thing that was said in those videos, and the girls accidentally or instinctually, you can choose which one they are. Accidentally or instinctually right about one thing is that they want the guy to make more money than them. That not only ties back into kind of like wanting a provider, but statistically that bears out because like if we're talking about the number one factors of a divorce, and these aren't causal, but they're correlated factors, is women making more than the man. That is a huge factor correlated to divorce.
No, college educated women initiate like 90% of divorces. So of divorces in their situation. So if the woman is married, and the marriage goes into a divorce, 90% chance it's the woman that started it.
I think it's emasculating for the man to not be able to take care of his family, and he's in a market right now that rolls out the red carpet for women. In fact, if you're a woman, you get to go to the head of the line in so many ways just because of intersectional politics. So that's hard for men. It's emasculating to not be able to take care of your family. And I think for women, this whole idea of hypergamy comes into play. Women can lose respect for men when they're not fulfilling their roles adequately, even providing. So I would say it's just about inverting the God-given order in things. You naturally are going to lose some respect and maybe have some resentment there.
Yeah, and it definitely shows.
The one distinction might overcompensate might just be an age differential. Just that that college woman that's saying she want a guy that makes 100G is probably going to be swiping right on people maybe let's say 5 years older than her. So that might be how the difference in income is broken down, because they might not go with someone their age or maybe a year older that graduated college or is in the entry level job, so they'll go with someone a little further down in their career path, and that's how the difference will be reconciled. But at the same time, you're still you're still you're still continuing a trend where the average age of marriage continues to increase.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things, and these are just all factors that are being contributed to because of the overarching feminist thing. But I want to shift the conversation now in a different direction, because hoflation is directly tied to simp culture. Because the men are, they can't control themselves, and they're feeding this environment. They're feeding this. And they're basically creating a feedback loop of this hoflation cycle that we're seeing. It's, hyper hoflation, as it's called. And part of why this is going on is because men cannot put down the like button on a photo on social media and, following. And let's be real, even in politics, you see the same simp culture. Why do we care what Tulsi Gabbard has to say? Why do we care? Why do we let Kristi Noem off the hook for, opposing women's sports and basically supporting transgenderism one year, and then the next year she doesn't because, and then we just let her off the hook for that. And we generally everywhere you see a lot of pretty women held to a much lower standard, and it's because guys are holding them to that standard. They're holding them to a lower standard. And it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to make fun of conservative media a lot here because there are so many people that are just so underqualified, but because they're attractive packaging, they get gigs. So it's just one of the things that just drives me nuts. So simp culture fuels this, and that's why there's OnlyFans. Like 5 years ago, did you know what an OnlyFans was?
Do I know what it is?
5 years ago, like, did you know what an OnlyFans was?
I think I've probably this past year when it came on my radar.
I believe over a year ago, I wrote an article about a potential simpocalypse because OnlyFans was contemplating going away from mainly settling pornography. Because again, the hardest part about running a porn industry is the financial transacting side of things. It's not actually the supply, and it's certainly not the demand. And typically when it comes to Vice, which, social media, girls posting skanky pictures on social media for likes, I believe that Vice is more on the supply the responsibility falls more on the supply side than the demand side. If someone's selling drugs on a street corner, they're the ones creating the temptation.
Mm-hmm. Supply drives
Vice.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that has to be talked about, and I think we have talked about that. But the demand side is that men are fueling this.
Yeah.
They're simping for women who are like sixes. They're, white knighting in the comments section. Men are doing all this. They're fueling this.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I saw is one of the biggest deals in college sports is Olivia Doon, who's the LSU gymnast. And again, she has a name, image, and likeness deal that's worth more than $1 million. So, and that's because she's like hot and has 5.7 million followers on Instagram. So, I mean, again, even for someone like that, for someone like that, or someone that's very like obsessed with their TikTok game, which I imagine a lot of those girls in that video are into TikTok, into Instagram, they have it all. And there's not necessarily a man out there that can give you the attention that you can get from, getting 1 million views on a TikTok video, even though 1 million views is pretty much nothing, because if a video repeats, that's like 2 or 3 views getting added.
I think social media, the rise of social media, and I would say the rise of internet porn over the last 10 years, it has trained men or trained us like seals or dogs to seek this unreal fantasy with women. And so and then women have been trained to seek that approval and attention from men. So it is a loop, and it just self perpetuates. And it's so how do you stop an object once it's in motion? It's hard to stop it.
Right.
It's going to get worse, I think.
So, and that's the problem. And I guess I want to ask you about Dominion dating for a second. How does Dominion dating kind of wade into the economics of dating as we've kind of described it here?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, you're talking to a guy that hates online dating. I hate online dating with a passion. I did it for 10 plus years. I did probably a dozen different online dating sites, and it is a dark, creepy, demoralizing world for men and women. It should be your last option, honestly. But when people run out of options and you're stuck in a static state of singleness, you're not meeting people in your local context, and your networks have run dry on you, and you need somewhere to turn. So we're really trying to do online dating differently. My main goal with Dominion Dating is twofold. One is a better dating pool. So quality over quantity. Instead of sifting through 1,000 or 10,000 loser profiles for men or women, I would rather you get to dial in your search according to your convictions, your geographical location. Just have some controls on your search, and have quality men or quality women to talk to, and to find the right fit for you, a good fit. And then secondly, once we do have a quality dating pool, we want to have a process that gets you out of there. So online dating is hard because you're doing it through so many layers of buffers that make it hard to really know who you're talking to. So email and private messaging from long distance is, that's so one dimensional. You can't know someone through an email. You really can't know someone through a screen. So
Manti Te'o learned that the hard way.
What's that?
Manti Te'o learned that the hard way.
Who did? Sorry.
Manti Te'o, the linebacker for Notre Dame.
What happened with him?
He was a Heisman Trophy candidate 10 years ago. They made a documentary about him recently on Netflix. But this was the first high-profile instance of catfishing.
Yeah. So it's a real thing. I'm sitting here right now because I couldn't get my light figured out because that shines in my eyes. But literally, you don't know what I look like because I don't have a light shining on me. And there's a lot you can hide behind a screen. And so getting people in person in real life, that's where real dating starts. Most people think that's the finish line. They have this long, lengthy email exchange. They Skype for a few months and they think, oh, I'm at the finish line. Finally going to meet the parents, we're finally going to meet in person. No, that's where it starts. So we want to get you there sooner than later, but that comes back to just trying to do dating in a wise, intentional way. So that's that's what we're trying to do. I think that probably was a long way around your question, because I think you were
No,
talking.
I think you answered the question pretty well. And
I mean, I guess the dilemma with any dating site is having women on your site, because you don't have to search very far for a bunch of single dudes that are looking for women. But the
Yeah.
other,
and even dudes that are single for a reason.
Let me give you an anecdote, though. So Mars Hill Church, right? The infamous Mars Hill Church, which is no longer exists. But I read Mark Driscoll's book, Reformational Rev. I don't know if you read that book, but
No,
but
I don't read churchy books often.
but he tells a story of a woman pastor, right? Which is, anyways. And she was not married, and she started coming to his patriarchal church on Wednesday, on Sunday evenings, and she just kept coming. And he asked her, why are you coming? You hate what we're about. Why do you come? And her answer was, everyone knows all the best men are here. And so she wanted a good man. I honestly think the difference we're trying to do is you can have a dating site flooded with a bunch of dudes, and that will deter women because women are tired of simps and white knights and losers and catfish. But if you get a dating site that's populated and reputably populated by the best men, I believe you will attract the best women. And I think that's what we're gunning for. So we're trying to repel people who have no business dating, and we're trying to attract people who ordinarily would shy away from it. And we've had yeah.
And it's interesting that the Mark Driscoll anecdote is somewhat of an operating, I don't want to say mantra, but operating thought in the periphery of what's going on here. Have the best men, the women will come, and that's such a paradigm shift,
Right?
Earth shattering to what we're used to, because usually it's the other way around. That's why you have ladies' night at the bar, or
right, yeah. Usually, most marketing skews feminine. We skew our marketing slightly masculine. I mean, even the name Dominion has masculine overtone, because we're going after men. We're telling men we don't want simps and white knights here. We want real dudes here, masculine guys that are getting it. I mean, like guys who bring home the bread, guys who are strong and fit. Not where you don't have to hide or tone down your masculinity on our dating site. That we see masculinity as a plus, as a God-given great thing.
I guess walk me through the screening process. As I recall, because you've been on here before and probably answered these same questions then. I do actually have the same questions that I asked you in front of me then, but I can't read my own handwriting at times. So as I recall, it required a screening process to where you kind of apply to be on, and that even included a church reference. Correct? Yeah. Is that still a thing?
Yeah. We have an application process where you have to give a consent agreement to our statement of faith, which includes 3 parts: historical Christian orthodoxy, gendered piety, and then a commitment to personal holiness. And then you have to get a pastoral reference verified, so that actually, when you apply, you'll enter your pastor's contact info, and it'll automatically send him a reference. He'll quickly, it's like 2 minutes, he'll fill it out and submit it. We'll review it and we'll approve you. So the whole idea is we want men and women who are in biblically sound churches, and they are under authority. We don't want want rogue Christians who hate authority and hate accountability and just want to live unto themselves. We want people who live God's way. So
So,
Well, I guess part of
oh,
like
you
if
go.
I were to like maybe levy an objection, I mean, you know, I mean, I'm probably on the good end, the positive, well, the shameless end, honestly, of being willing to openly talk about online dating in public and just all the struggles and the hoes and the pitfalls. I mean, I don't know or think women are necessarily on that level yet, out as far as publicly. Uh, so I guess
But
how do you?
She-Hulk had jokes about dating in your 30s and swiping on Tinder.
so sorry,
I guess
what's
does
the objection though, or the?
does the rigorous screening process, because again, you're basically, hi, pastor, I'd like to sign up for said dating app.
Oh, you're
Does
saying a
that?
woman might be more deterred by that process than a man?
I would say yes, because a guy might be more open about. I mean,
I
I think
mean,
guys are more shameless on talking
Well,
about online dating.
well, but I would just say this. To me, there's a line in the sand between the traditional woman, the trad, and the modern woman. That's the line we're trying to draw a line in the sand.
I mean,
Uh,
again, the name of the stream is helping Chads find trads, and you're talking about just attracting the trads.
yeah. So what that is you could say that's the quintessential mark of a trad is they value patriarchal, masculine, protective authority, a hedge of protection. They value their fathers, they value their pastors, and so the trad girls, I think this is a feature, not a distraction for them. That's what we're banking on now. If I would just say, at the end of the day, if you want to be married bad enough, you're gonna do whatever it takes. So most people that I've met that are doing online dating, they'll try 10 different sites, but they're not if they're not willing to get to. So what I'm saying is that, to me, that's one of the downfalls of online dating is they approach it as individuals completely disconnected from community. I mean, and they keep it all private. So these girls get on online dating and guys too, and you keep it all private, and that's dangerous. Like, you can burn your house down doing online dating. You can go home pregnant if you're a girl. I mean, it's like, that's the point. Online dating needs to be brought out of the dark. It needs to be brought back into community.
Right.
You shouldn't have a guy come fly in that you've never met, fly in from another state, or drive in from 4 hours away, and you're going to spend the weekend together getting to know each other. You shouldn't do that secretly, because that's a recipe for a lot of regret and heartache, and just,
Right.
it's not wise.
So I want to bring up the Right Stuff, which is supposedly an app trying to, court conservatives to create a conservative dating pool. And I just, let's kind of check out their prime marketing material and
All right.
kind of react to that.
Oh, man.
Today, we brought in a group of conservative young women and wanted to get their honest opinions about what they're looking for in the guys they date. What are you looking for in a partner?
They just have to be a conservative.
Definitely someone that wants to have kids.
I like an independent man. Personally, I like the alpha male vibe.
I want a man who really loves his family.
Definitely someone whose faith is important to them.
For me, it's someone who actually wants to meet my parents.
Why do you want to date a conservative?
For me, at least I know that we're going to start off with some shared values.
Well, the conservative men I've dated at least know how to treat me like a woman.
In my personal experience, conservative guys have better manners.
I like that they understand their role in the relationship as a man.
I just prefer my men to be masculine.
And what's the biggest red flag when it comes to dating?
A Democrat.
No Democrats.
A Democrat.
Can't be a Democrat.
A Democrat.
That's easy. A Democrat.
No Democrats. So no.
Find the right match. Download the right stuff today.
So, initial thoughts.
I mean, the sad part is Peter Thiel's supposed to be like this tech guy, this big tech investor, and that's the best he can do. I mean, honestly, he's approaching it the
Well,
wrong
he's
way.
gay.
You got yes, and surprisingly, he's not a Rick Grinnell gay, like conservative gay of trying to gay the Republican Party kind of gay, but like he's backing like Ted Cruz and JD Vance as far as like candidates.
Like Masters.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I think you should like the approach should be more subtle than just conservative and just beating that hammer down. It should actually be, I like guys without pronouns in their bio, and just attack that angle.
Yeah. I'm not. So there's like 8,000 dating sites online. I mean, it's funny. There's so many dating sites flooding the market right now. The only one that anyone has had a problem with so far is Dominion Dating.
I mean, people roasted the right stuff. So
well, So
they got roasted.
There's some stuff that is roast worthy with them, and you mentioned one is the fact that they're a conservative dating site that's funded by a openly homosexual man. So that's
again, that could be an angel investor or a venture capital thing. So I won't judge too much into that.
Well, I would just say if your enemy, if your enemy is funding you, you're probably not much of a threat to the enemy. So
yeah, I mean, I just thought that was completely vacuous.
Well, to me, it reminded me of Fox. They're hiring Bruce Jenner as a conservative outlet. It's just conservatism doesn't mean anything right now, and that's what that's my point. Is if you have an openly homosexual man who wants to back you, what does conservatism even mean? So, what are you conserving? I mean, this guy is married to a dude, so
I don't know if he's married or not, but
yeah,
Yeah,
I think Peter Thiel's an interesting character just because I'm trying to remember whether he's the guy that like ousted Gawker or whatever.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so he's the guy that did that. And he's an interesting character because I think he's more of a libertarian, but apparently, he hates the establishment. So it might be more of a co-belligerency.
Yeah.
But I just, that's sort of his product. But at the same time, it's just too vacuous to really take seriously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that's them putting their best foot forward.
That's why, like I said, they have to, like on my Hinge profile, I slap down pronouns because like I want to say 40% of the girls on that site have pronouns in their bio. Yeah. So I'm just throwing a slap their way. And that one actually gets a lot more love. I get a lot more love and hate on that particular prompt. So I think that would be the better play.
Wait, what do you mean by prompt? The voice prompt? Because doesn't Hinge have the
I don't
voice
do
prompt?
voice prompts because that's dumb. But the prompt because
you don't have a voice for radio, is what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't listen to anyone's voice prompts, so I'm not going to put one on there.
Well, I just think at the end of the day, if you listen to that commercial, it's such a low bar.
Yeah,
it's such a low bar. What's the one thing they don't want? A Democrat. So
okay,
again,
well,
yeah. Then that means nothing because I guarantee you, after there's going to be a million Democrats who, after they try every other dating site, they're going to decide they're Republican and they're going to get on that site.
They're going to identify as Republican. Just like they identified as a woman yesterday.
Yeah. So, I mean, and if their backer is openly gay, how long is it before they totally are just onboarding, men looking for men, women? So now, I'm just saying
they haven't that part yet.
Right,
what's interesting enough is like you look at the religious screenings, like you can put in Christian, Obviously, that doesn't mean as much as you would like. But they have every other religion on there as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. I just think if you follow conservatives, they're always 10 years behind Democrats, liberals. We're just conservatism is just riding the slow bus, but they're going to the same destination. You can look at eHarmony. eHarmony started out as a quote unquote Christian dating site.
oh, really?
Yeah. In fact,
My understanding is the founder was Christian or something.
yeah, it had, 10 years ago when I was on, it had a reputation as being distinctly Christian, even though they didn't overtly state that. But now they're completely running ads for lesbian couples. So, it's just a matter of time.
Maybe they were Methodists.
There you go.
Future domestic violence.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, it's a market, right? So I think there's a market for non-woke, and that's what they're going for. They're trying to say we don't do intersectional politics, all that. I think they'll get traction, but you wouldn't catch me on there. To me, they're just one more flavor of the same problem, which
I wasn't shameless enough to give it a trial run.
And he's shameless.
Yeah, and you're shameless, man. So yeah. I guess they don't quite, make the bar. But
so I guess
the other problem is it's not necessarily the woman having a problem finding a conservative guy. It's the guy having a problem finding the conservative girl. So the problem is entirely reversed because, again, a hot conservative babe is a hot commodity. So she's probably getting a bunch of sausages like in her feed, swiping right on her, and she knows her value, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the hoflation strikes again. Because again, that's also more of a supply and demand than a hoflation thing. Just because, what is the most liberal demographic? White, college-educated women.
And I can tell you this. I guarantee
that aren't married, single, white, college-educated women. That is the most liberal demographic in this country.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you it will reflect in the way the women dress on that site. The conservative women on your average dating site, including conservative Christian women, they dress like prostitutes. They are like leaving nothing to the imagination because they think that's the way they're going to get a guy. And so that's what you're going to have on that site. It's just going to be like every other site. It's going to be, look at me, give me attention.
Actually, I think you can kind of tell based on if you had, not saying you'd be batting 1,000, but I think, more often than not, you can tell someone's politics based on how they dress, particularly if they're,
physiognomy.
If they're white.
Now, speaking of how you dress, I don't know if you heard about this. Christian Cafe apparently is taking heat for saying you have to disclose your body type and fashion sense on their dating site. I imagine you might have experience with Christian Cafe since you've said you've done everything. I was talking to Brandon there.
I'll let you in on everything. I'll let you in on a secret. I'm gonna let you in on a secret.
All right.
And this is for Anthony, the single Chad.
Oh, there you go.
I met my wife on Christian Cafe.
Okay. So they're
and you can do a free 10-day trial. So get on there, man.
I just don't think a lot of even younger. The problem is getting younger people to even pay because obviously you can just. There's
download
some dude
a
out
hookup
there
app for free.
There's some people out there that are getting the Tinder Gold, so to speak, but odds are most people aren't paying subscribers.
Yeah,
especially if they're young.
Well, and you don't actually have to pay. Sorry, my dogs are barking. You can do the free 10-day trial, and then you're on there, right? And then if someone emails you and you want to, you can reactivate your account. But otherwise, you can just leave your pole in the water. Fishing metaphor there.
And not a different metaphor.
And it's interesting. But I actually thought that was a pretty based move by the people at Christian Cafe to say, to be honest, that people have screening factors that they aren't ready to admit but we all know that they have them. So we're just going to make people come clean about it. I actually thought that was a pretty respectable
I'm not entirely sure what
response to that controversy.
fashion style works.
Okay.
I mean,
I would have to.
Okay, do you remember that meme that I sent about you know, I want a goth girl, and then the Chad's like, I'm scared. You know,
you're talking to.
I didn't I send you that meme at one point?
I'm not sure.
It was a one of your standard Chad memes. I was like, I want to date a goth girl, and then it's like presents the goth girl, and it's like I'm scared because she's got like a bunch of piercings and dresses in all black and stuff.
I mean,
like
I
that.
think
It's
from 5 pictures you can get a sense of how someone dresses, and maybe
bikini,
other features as well.
Bikini next to other girls in the bikini.
Yeah.
Dress.
Well, see, so
short.
Well, the
dress.
bikinis are one thing. Then you get the outfits that are kind of sluttier than a bikini. It's kind of weird. And then
we're going to have a general, a general body type category. So
I don't know what this even means. I thought that was funny. I don't want to date a fat girl because I'm pro-life. Pedro coming in based in the chat there. And then ISIS is conservative. I mean, if you're talking about, Bush conservative, because, who created ISIS was, Bush conservatives. But
there you go.
Yeah. And then also from Pedro, secular society is basically turning into an orgy as far as sexual morality goes. And I think, again, you're seeing a lot more of those dating stuff that I talked about earlier. They're promoting a lot of these orgy type relationships. And again, I watch this in part because of the guilty pleasure. But the other part is I need to know what's coming down the pike, so to speak. We can't afford any person that was like, I didn't know what transgenderism was 2 years ago. It's like Bruce Jenner was 2015, bro.
Woman of the Year.
Yeah, that was 2015, 2016. Like, there's no excuse for not knowing what it is in 2019. So, oh, okay. Pedro says that obese women are more likely to miscarry, so I wouldn't want to marry someone obese. I think, again,
I thought it was about
men. When it comes to men, like what we're attracted to is actually a lot more tied to biology. But even men, if you look at the statistics, men are a lot more forgiving on women's looks because, we have a standard bell curve in terms of what we find attractive. Whereas women find, here it's a bathtub curve. You're either a 1 or a 2 or a 9 or a 10, depending on whether you're their type. But guys are a lot more forgiving about type than women are. It's pretty interesting.
But I would say that's still the line in the sand on that is trad women versus modern women. There's a book called The Evangelical Divide, and it contrasts the true woman to the new woman. And so I would say traditional women. So for example, I spent 4 years in Taiwan, and women there are very traditional. They marry young. Now they're westernizing, so they're becoming modern, but still compared to the U.S. And if you take a ride through Taipei City, for example, on their public transit, man, you will see beautiful women with very average dudes. I'm talking. In some cases, many cases, the women are taller than them, and like you would.
I mentioned income disparity as a correlating factor for divorce, but it's also that another correlating factor for like happiness in a relationship is if the girl is more attractive than the guy. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Why do you think Tom Brady's getting divorced? Because he's more attractive than Giselle.
So I would say
she makes more than him.
Yeah. Here's this. So this is my theory, and you can email me if you want to argue, disagree. But this all is rooted in women. They want security. They want stability. They want a happily ever after. They don't want to their guy to run around on them later in life when they lose a step. So I think women like to date a guy that's really a rung below them in the attraction department. I've seen that pattern all over the world. I've lived in Europe and I've lived in Asia and US. I think if a woman is a 7 or 8, she wants to date a 5 or a 6.
I think that's actually like a thing. What you're talking about is like dating like within 1 or 2 of your ranking. So an 8.
Yeah.
So if you're like a 5, unless you win like a lottery, you're not getting a 10, but you might get a 7. Or a 7 is maybe getting a 9. If not, you're settling. You're
Okay, how do you
getting
explain Pete Davidson?
I've heard things about him below the belt. That's all.
Well,
I've heard comedians make jokes on.
I'm just saying, I don't know how you explain that one.
I don't know who he is.
He's like the weird-looking SNL comedian.
He was getting with
who Hollywood keeps trying to force down our throats, even though it's like I'm not going to think. Like when I've seen SNL with him on it, which is few and far between, and several years ago, he was half funny. I mean, I think, and I'm just ranking them as a talent from what I can tell. Like, I thought 2 people, okay, these people are genuinely funny. That's not to say that their skits are funny.
Yeah.
Like someone's a good singer, but their music's terrible. It might be that.
Yeah. So I would say this: men and women, are, as far as physical looks go, there's not a whole lot you can do other than exercise, diet, take care of yourself, right? Get a good haircut, wash your face, whatever. But there's other things men and women can do to make yourself more attractive. For men, it's earn more money. It's your character, leadership. You can learn to wield authority, be a good leader. For women, being a helper, being a pleasant personality, an encourager, supportive, that makes your attraction level go up. So
smiling more, is that what I heard? You gotta
smile
more.
Yeah, which is why feminists are so unbearable. They don't smile, they're not happy. So no one wants to be around that.
And I'm a jovial personality to be around, so it's like can relate. And
and laughter, if you can make your girl laugh, that's points, man. Your score's going up. Have a sense of humor.
I mean, that's definitely not why Pete Davidson's getting all these girls.
Well, look at rappers, man. Rappers, there's some ugly rappers out there.
Jay-Z.
Yeah, and they get girls, and I think that's the money and the fame. Girls, that's what gold diggers like, I guess. But
it might have to go back to gold digging. I don't know how tall he is. I don't think he's that tall though. But a lot of this is biological, and then we just gotta just kind of circumvent and basically adjust to the field. And part of what you're talking about is creating a screened dating pool of quality and not quantity. If you're in the chat, just feel free to send some questions, random comments, and because I don't know if we have too much more to say, but let's just talk about Dominion dating for a second, and just how can people kind of get in touch with that.
Well, as you know, we're the worst dating site in the history of dating sites because we just keep not launching. So thank you to our backers for being patient. That's one thing.
I have both links in the description below, like the one that's the backer link and the other that's the
main site. So if you want to go and check out what we're doing, it's dominiondating.com. If you want to go to our crowdfunding site, and you can still get a discount dating subscription, but that's dominion.dating. So eventually both of those domains will direct directly to our main site. We're about to shut down our crowdfunder site.
And both those domains are in the description below.
Awesome.
Matt says, happily married to a hot trad wife from Christian Cafe. Oh, there you
Way
go,
to go,
Anthony.
bro. Way to go.
That's 2. So
Yeah.
let's see.
That's awesome,
Here's a
man.
question from Pedro. How long do you think it will be until closed relationships are stigmatized by the mainstream culture? Now, this again has to go back to the simp culture phenomenon, because again, there's that wouldn't let that shit happen to me though type of mentality that guys have about seeing another guy getting cucked. And the whole open relationship mentality is, you're basically letting someone spit roast your wife, and most guys are not going to be down for that.
Well, territorial.
There's something instinctually territorial against this idea. So I don't think it gets mainstreamed. I don't think that's a sustainable degeneracy.
Feminism is in its death throes right now. I mean, the corpse is going to run around and dance a little longer, maybe a decade or so. But you know what? We're sick of it. All men are sick of the emasculating cultural moment we're in. We saw Will Smith get utterly humiliated, and he slapped Chris Rock with a joke, but he should have slapped himself, because he's the one that let it happen. He's the one that married a loser feminist woman who sleeps around on him, and he's the one that caved to
with
culture.
His son's best friends or something like that.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one who put his tail between his legs, because culture told him that it's oppressive to expect your wife to be faithful to you. So this is utter insanity that we're in right now, and it's not going to last. I think
exactly. We made Will Smith the butt of his joke because his marriage is open to anything except jokes, and along those lines, the fact that the slap was real was actually more emasculating for Will Smith.
Yeah.
I might actually take the opposite approach. I think it is certainly sustainable, because the numbers, I mean, again, going back to the liberal women, are that the disparity between liberalness of women and the more conservativeness of men, that's not a sustainable cultural divide for long-term marriages. So and then you're going to have a bunch of women that hoe it up in their 20s, they're single in their 30s, they're still alive, they're still kicking and breathing, and of course, misery and all that. And of course, then you add the school system that cultivates this feminism again. So you have a fresh crop of customers coming into the ideology. So it's not like, unless you kill everything that creates the ideology, you're not necessarily going to kill the problem. You might get a market correction where things might revert back, but kind of like conservatism being the speed bump of liberalism. You're just going back to 5 years of liberalism, which I'm actually writing a satire that kind of touches on that subject.
I mean, that's actually an interesting thing that we should kind of like maybe debate a little longer while we're here, because you're basically saying that this is going to grow because it's going to recruit more people into it that are already existing in the liberal gene pool. And you're also saying that basically, if I'm reading you right, that there's enough weak men out there to let this happen to them.
Well, the other thing is, when you have that disparity, that's also going to feed into the porn problem. Because I mean, it used to be pornography was, you couldn't get laid, so you got the Playboy or went to a movie like Travis Bickle. That used to be it. Now it's like you're basically being groomed with the pornography from basically childhood or
to be into the cuckold
early
porn.
Brand. Early puberty, like 11. I think the age is 11 for average exposure to pornography is 11. So
Kanye West might have said something like that about himself.
So when you do that,
yeah.
So when you have that, you're weakening the men, and then you're feminizing the women, especially via social media and the school system. So you're having a bunch of dudes that are weak, and again, they can't get girls, or they don't even want the girls. They're just settling for the Pornhub.
Well, I just think it reminds me of the C.S. Lewis quote: "We make men without chest, and we expect from them virtue and enterprise." I think we're at a pivotal moment where we've realized our error. Many people are waking up. They're saying, you know what? I mean, I think there's lots of women waking up and saying, I don't like the men that this culture produces. I don't like these weak men. And I think there's a lot of of men saying, I don't like these baby killing skanky women that run around on you. I think so. I won't. So I think you have a valid point.
Well, I think those women you're talking about are just going to go harder into the feminism.
Yeah,
And
so I would,
because you see that you see that especially in like the black culture with the black matriarchy, that the women that don't need no man,
Jada Pinkett Smith, for instance.
yeah, that they've been burned over by men in the past or whatever it is. You have all these broken homes, so you're actually, they actually go harder into it.
Yeah, I just think the pendulum swings, right? It's in some ways it's reactionary, but I think we're finally getting a backlash to feminism. Even in the Christian world. The Christian world for the last 30 years, so I'm 41 now. For my first 30 years, egalitarianism was the norm, and you couldn't question it. It was sexist to do that. But now we're having a Christian patriarchy resurgence. It's Good to Be a Man is a book written by Michael Foster and Non Tennant. It's number one.
Pretty well.
It's number one in Christian men's category on Amazon, and it's just It's surging in popularity. So I would say there is a pendulum swinging the other way, which is encouraging to me. But yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think we're gonna have a.
I'm not sure I'm super convinced that feminism is in retreat, or even in the church in retreat, because if the church is like a couple years behind the culture in terms of reacting to certain things, the church is still doubling down on the Me Too movement with the Rachel Den Hollander theology they're trying to peddle into the church. And then let's not even, that doesn't even get me started on the whole let's excuse women for killing their own children nonsense that you're seeing out of the Southern Baptist Convention specifically. But, you see that in a lot of conservative commentators, Stephen Crowder, that pretend like the real pro-life position doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not super convinced that feminism is in its death throes.
You're actually seeing the divergence. You're seeing the rise of patriarchy, which I think is obviously, I would say it's predominantly fueled by men. And then you're seeing the ultra feminist rise as well. And of course, so you're getting the split, which again, you're seeing in the political landscape as well.
I mean, Gen Z is the most polarized generation, and that's a good thing in my opinion, because if they weren't polarized, they'd be even worse.
I guess I'm an optimist. I see is feminism has reached its peak of insanity. So I just think it has just, I would say it has just plummeted into insanity. I mean, it was slow rolling for decades, but right now hyper or radical feminism is a grotesque, ugly thing. And I don't think it takes any argument, because you can just go on YouTube or Twitter and watch women, watch them like worshiping at the altar of abortion. Like it's like a sacrament for them. And it's just, these women are nasty, nasty women. We've got the MGTOW movement right now, men going their own way, which is to say men are on strike. Men are going on strike from these women and the patriarch. So what I'm saying is, I guess I'm seeing, to use a basketball metaphor, I feel like they had a good run. I feel like we're making a run now. Men are, I think in the Christian world, at least on Twitter where I'm at, men are making great arguments, compelling arguments for Christian patriarchy. And that's the first time in my life where I've seen that. So the last...
And that's
I don't know
why,
if you're making the argument. You're just actually reading what Scripture expressly says.
Right.
Ephesians 5:22.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So So it's always been there, right? Biblical patriarchy and gendered piety has been the orthodox view held by the church for 2,000 years up until, modern feminism came on but what I'm saying is, even though it's always been there, it became taboo. You couldn't talk about it. You couldn't state the obvious. You couldn't say about feminism that the king has no clothes on, that this is just a naked charade of foolishness. You couldn't say that.
I also think it shows when women aren't happy or as a result of feminism.
Yeah.
And, meme culture is really breaking that down.
Right.
You have memes like, wait, we don't have to go to work and all we have to do is, cook, clean, and have sex. And, you wanted to work.
Yeah.
I do all those things.
Yeah.
We made things so much more difficult on ourselves with the whole, dual income really hurt America. Sending manufacturing jobs overseas in exchange for information age jobs really hurt America. And, now we're lucky if we have information jobs because there's, it's a lot of gig economy. That's just so much better. So it's just insane what you're saying. And then Pedro says, my pastor's one of the first wave feminism was good, but second wave and onward was bad types. And and that's just a normie take because all of it was bad.
Yeah.
And I like the quote by Joe Webben did this in a sermon where he talks about how the worst people to women are women, because if you look at the result of the 19th Amendment, there might have been one Democrat who would have been elected since 19th Amendment's ratification.
Yeah, just look at how the voting breakdown is right now, men versus women, and you see why we have.
I think that's going to get more broadened.
Yeah.
Because that's my takeaway. It's like the major political realignment in this country is those who believe in traditional gender roles and those who don't.
Yeah.
It is masculinity and femininity versus effeminacy and androgyny. That is the political landscape in this country.
It's an ideological breakdown that's been politicized. So
right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, alpha chads tend to gravitate towards other alphas. I mean, sharks hang out with sharks. They don't hang out with octopuses or whatever. So that's why I think like an Elon Musk or Joe Rogan, that's why I think they gravitate towards a Ron DeSantis, is because they like that, they like that masculine energy he's giving on.
Bolsonaro or whatever his name is in Brazil, Bolsonaro. Okay. And, he's basically, he has the bravado, and that's attractive, specifically with anyone from that continent or, going up to the Mexican border. Bravado works. I don't want to say Hispanic because I'm not sure how that works with Brazilians.
I would say it's strength.
We need to get Octopussy off your mind.
But Bolsonaro and Trump, they gave strong leadership. It was decisive, and it was fatherly. It was they love their country. Trump loves his country, or at least he convinced.
That was the appeal with Trump. Like, people say that first debate performance that he had in 2020 was bad. No, Hispanics liked it.
No, still say it's bad.
I mean, but Hispanics liked it though. It worked with them.
Well, fathers can be clumsy and goofy and embarrass you in the things they say, but if they would, if they're ready to go to bat for you, and that's what Trump did
out of World War III.
Yeah, that's what Trump did with the economy. That's what he did with a lot of things, and that's what Bolsonaro does. And they're fighting against a corrupt media, probably
apparently someone that's a criminal that's running for president.
I mean, in Brazil, they're so corrupt. The guy that's winning and probably going to beat Bolsonaro if they.
I hear the polls are at a dead heat now.
Well, yeah, the guy that's neck and neck there is Lula. He's been convicted of crimes and was in prison.
He just got out of jail.
I mean,
and
they
now
got
he's running for president.
Clearly there's corruption, and to me, there's just so little hope.
And I kind of want to talk about this question. Like, I like Carrie Lake, but she's a woman, so her becoming a governor is a sign of God's wrath upon the people of Arizona. There is somewhat of a Deborah thing going on here, where Deborah was installed as sort of a judgment on Israel, but in a rescuing sort of way. Mm-hmm. Like, it was it was kind of a diss on the dudes of Israel that God used her.
I mean, I might sooner say it's sim culture and politics, because let's be real, Tulsi Gabbard.
No, Carrie Lake is a highly articulate former weather lady or something.
Well, yeah,
like
she also
news
has
anchor.
She also kind of has this.
She has TV bravado, which I think works exceedingly well for her.
I'm not sure I'd pull the Deborah card on her just because she has a lot of contributing.
Well, I'm just talking about a formidable woman in leadership. When theoretically we should be fighting. Again, like I said, if there wasn't a 19th Amendment, Democrats and liberalism wouldn't have zero chance in this country. Mm-hmm. They would be so far outvoted that the Democrat Party as it currently exists would never exist. And the Republican Party would easily be split in two, ideologically speaking. So
I'm not a fan of women leaders in general. I'm grateful when they're there and leading. I'm grateful when they lead with integrity and conviction and show courage, which we've had a number of women leaders do. And that is like Deborah, when a woman leads with biblical conviction and courage. But it's also, I think it's a rebuke to our culture, because Isaiah pointed out in chapter 3, when a nation is ruled by women and children, it is a judgment. It's a sign of weakness. So I think that's a great indictment on our generation. We have, I would say, in the military and in politics, we're just there's getting to the point where there's just as many women almost as men running for these offices. So,
and it just gets me thinking about female villains and movies or books or anything like that. Because you look at the prime minister or whatever of New Zealand, and she's a celebrated millennial woman leader, and it's like she's a Nurse Ratched. She is Nurse Ratched. I mean, Ken Keasley, I think that's the name of the author, he was a mastermind in creating Nurse Ratched, because that character is so real. The I'm here to help you kind of villain that's nurturing in a villainous sort of way. That is just, and that's kind of what happens with a lot of female leaders, because she's a petty tyrant.
Yeah.
And that's what you can worry about. And you saw that with the lockdowns and the female Republican leaders, Kay Ivey, and to a very minor extent, Kim Reynolds. I'm trying to think of other governors, but I'm a little.
I think that
on it, but
that
was a Nurse Ratched complex.
Yeah,
I mean, Hochul would be a Nurse Ratched.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Whitmer.
Yeah. Well, it's like this. Look at Deborah for a minute. She was in a time, the scriptures say, when everyone did what was right in their eyes, right? So
it
was a wicked time, and the men were abdicating responsibility. You had Barak, who wouldn't go to war unless Deborah went with him, and she understood her role, because she rebuked him. She said, "Fine, if that's how you want to play it, but everyone's going to know that a woman got the victory." So she shamed him by saying a woman will get the victory in battle, which is contrary to nature. God didn't design women to go to battle or to lead a nation into battle, but because you won't do your job, you're going to be shamed. I'm going to be the one that they credit the victory to.
I mean, now that you just said that, it just made me think of, I need to drop this hot take that, you know, Joan of Arc was a fraud and a heretic that did not receive revelation from God, and which is demonstrably or provably true when you look at the story of her life. She's a peasant girl that wanted to marry rich.
There you go.
She was a gold digger.
Well,
and she
yeah.
I believe she was betrothed to a prince or something like that as a result of claiming to have revelation from God, while France was on the turning point of the 100 Years' War. Like, they were already kind of turning the tables on the English, and she just, you know, was there for the ride and the morale boost. But I do believe like she had like false prophecies in her story, or visions that she described that were completely unbiblical, like a heaven is for real type of thing. So, you know, again, not a Deborah thing. It was just false prophecy.
Well, but what I wanted to say about Deborah is, on the back end of her ministry in chapter 5, she did a good job. She was a strong leader, but she's not trying to break glass ceilings so that women can flood into leadership. In fact, in chapter 5, after her reign, she kind of poetically rhapsodizes about what she wants in the future. And it's not women flooding in and taking the reins. She actually, if you read chapter 5, she longs for the day when the young princes will take the lead. So that's her vision for that nation, is to see young men step up and take her position. She doesn't see herself as breaking glass ceilings for women, but that's what you always hear egalitarians say when you try to press them with a biblical paradigm for men and women. They say, "What about Deborah?" Well, what about Deborah?
The exception that proves the rule.
Yeah, what would Deborah say about herself? She wants the young men to do their job so she can go home and rock her grandkids to sleep. So
why not the Queen of Judah instead?
What's that?
The Queen of Judah.
Queen of Judah.
Yeah, that was the one that was briefly in power while Josiah was raised in the temple, or something. It's something like that.
Yeah,
and they had to kill the woman, and then you get a guy there.
And
for
like
50
dogs
years.
were licking her corpse, or was that Jezebel?
No, that's Jezebel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She was the one. Else. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Someone else.
Well,
maybe
it's bad Bible reading when you take a one-off descriptor and you use that to override the entire Bible's prescription. So when God prescribes things, you can't take a descriptor like Deborah.
Queen Athaliah.
See, yeah. I know my trivia.
Yeah, there you go.
Just not the names.
Well, really. I think Deborah's actually a really fantastic place to just kind of finish off, because, you know, we're going back towards, you know, why we need dominion dating in the first place and why feminism bad and stuff like that. So one last time, I might as well say this now. If you really want to support Evangelical Dark Web, evangelicaldarkweb.org/join is where you can do that. We have a Patreon-like system there that gives you access to more content behind paywalls and stuff like that. Otherwise, the socials are down there as well. Sign up for the newsletter or the Telegram, one or the other. You can choose. It's the same thing, kind of, where you can get daily emails in your inbox if you're into that. Bypass big text censorship. Get the articles which contain the videos in your inbox each day, or on Telegram. That's fine too. And then Anthony, your socials, I believe, are also in the description below, and Dominion Dating also in the description below as well. Anything else to say, lads?
If you believe in what Dominion Dating is doing and you've got deep pockets, we are looking to raise some funds to bring on a new developer. So hit me up if that's you, Elon.
All right. All right, then. We'll leave off at that. Have a blessed day. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. And subscribe if you stuck around this long.
Hit the bell.
And the bell. Yes, the bell. The magical bell, which doesn't really work a whole lot. But yes. All right. Take care.
Appreciate y'all having me on. Good to know you, Anthony. Ray, good to see you, man.